everybody would like to have peace. Even people who are chasing money are looking for things that will give them peace at the end of the day. Mbona ukwe depressed na uko na pesa mingi? Because your money will not pay for that to go away. You see, there are things which cannot be bought with money. So I actually understand him. There are people who prefer wacha niache hii kazi, nikae hata niuze nyanya. The difference between depression in young people and the elderly is that for the elderly, people will confuse it with this person is just aging. You know, in Africa, when somebody gains weight, you're like, huyu anaishi vizuri. Tangu retire, amekuwa kigain weight.
Sana, hiyo ni mzuri.
Yeah, so
anakula mali yake.
Hiyo kazi ilikuwa inakusumbua. You see, but this person is actually
viewers, thank you so much. Welcome to Lucy Mworia Network. Thank you for the continued support. And if you have not subscribed yet, please do subscribe. Do usipitwe na hii maneno matam. Today, our doctor is on the bench. Our network doctor is here to talk about depression. Depression is a disease that is going to tell us what it is, and it is ravaging our country, both the youth and the elderly. Dr. Joan.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great.
Welcome back.
Asante.
The viewers have missed you.
Nimerudi.
They have been asking, where is our doctor?
Nimerudi sasa.
And you promised us next time, which is today, when you come, you're going to talk about depression.
Yes.
So our viewers are eagerly waiting to hear what depression is, how it is affecting.
Yeah.
And like you said, a lot of people are sick and they don't know they are sick.
Yeah.
So tell us.
First of all, it is good for us to know what depression is, because people may have different ideas about it. Depression is usually a mental health disorder. It's not really a physical illness, but it can have physical manifestations where somebody has a low mood prolonged over a long period, and inability to enjoy, their daily activities. And this lowness will impact their life significantly. You can have a low mood, but this depression is when it is over an extended period of time. So often when we want to diagnose, it's something that lasts more than 2 weeks.
That is depression.
Yes.
And what causes depression?
Depression.
We hear it's even in the young people.
Yes, there's actually a lot of depression even currently.
Yeah.
Mostly because of the kind of lifestyles we are having. We have to work harder to make money to survive. Unaona? So depression is suffered by all ages, but it is worse in the elderly people. So one of the most common causes obviously is the lifestyle that we are having. You find amongst the young people, depression will be caused by that peer pressure that people are having to try and keep up with the lifestyles that other people are having. In fact, in the era of social media, it is worse, because people will show the positives about their lives and they'll not show the sad things. So for young people, it is about that pressure, and then also having the burden to take care of the elderly people. Of course, conflicts between families, between people will also cause depression. For elderly people, it will be now either not having satisfaction or that self-achievement by the time they're reaching their age, or just being retired, and then you're not having a lot of social interaction. So isolation from the rest of the people because of older age will cause some people to be depressed.
The other day someone was telling me they are getting depressed because of their work, their places of work. How is that?
Now, let me tell you, most people that come to hospital with physical illnesses, if you give them time to speak, you realize this person had a headache. This is not just a mere headache, or this is not a mere backache. This person is actually depressed, because you find if you ask this person, like the other day I was treating somebody with ulcers for a long time, you ask them, what triggers your ulcers? This person starts crying in the office. Then you find out it's not really the diet that they're taking, it is the kind of work that we're doing. I don't know if it's okay to mention mostly people working in banks, people working in offices with high targets and high stresses.
Meeting deadlines.
and expectations for you to meet achievements that are sometimes either impossible or staffing is limited. You find there are fewer workers for a lot of work. Unapata somebody gets quite depressed because you can be able to sustain some, or to, you know, to cope with some stress to some level, but if it is work, it means every day you're going and you're being exposed to that place. So people are highly depressed in many workplaces, and sometimes you can have a little workload, but the work environment is very stressful. So you can have, I mean, the people that cry in doctors' offices are people that have bosses or supervisors that are actually bullying them. You know, so workplace bullying, conflicts with workers that have not been resolved, or seniors, or low pay. Many things are causing people to have depression at the workplace. So you see, it will affect even young people.
So the other day, the former minister of Musheru, he was like so excited, like he has left the big office that everyone else wants to be appointed to be CS.
Yes.
And now he was saying, I think he has left depression.
Yes.
It was like, so you could be having this high-head job, you could be having very high salaries and privileges, and still you are living there sick.
Definitely. You see, having plenty or having money doesn't, wakisema money doesn't buy happiness. It's actually a fact. You see, you can be in that big place, you have money, or as doctors, people have this assumption that we have money. But you see, in as much as we might have more than another population, we have to work long hours, or we have to interact with people that are highly, we have a lot of work to do. Or even the you know, the individual you're speaking in a government office, you don't know the pressures that they get for them to actually carry out their jobs, such that somebody would prefer to have a little amount of money with peace. At the end of the day, let me tell you, everybody would like to have peace. Even people who are chasing money are looking for things that will give them peace at the end of the day. So if you find that you're having a lot of money or a good job or a status or power, but you have no peace, you'd rather not have it. Unaona? Because nothing can ever delegate. Yes. Mbona ukwe depressed na uko na pesa mingi? Because your money will not pay for that to go away. You see, there are things which cannot be bought with money. So I actually understand him. There are people who prefer, wacha niache hii kazi, nikae hata niuze nyanya.
Even Natembea the other day, he said he left being county commissioner of Rift Valley, just quit and said, I resign because of the pressure of the job. You'd rather stay without
You'd rather stay without. So human beings have not been created to be highly stressed. There's some levels of stress we can have, but a thing I wanted to mention about depression, especially in elderly people, is that it manifests as physical illness. I actually appreciate that you're bringing out depression in the elderly. The difference between depression in young people and the elderly is that for the elderly, people will confuse it with this person is just aging, or this person usually has acidity tangu akue 50 years, so
ana chungu.
Sasa ama mguu imekuwa tu ikimsumbua daktari kutoka kwa muda mrefu.
Mpaka hata wao wanasemanga ni ile mguu yangu.
Ni mguu yangu imenileta.
Ile uchungu yangu.
Ile mimi nimekuja tu, hata the others who say nimekuja tu zile dawa zangu za ulcers. But you're like, no, you should not
you could be having something else.
Yes, the kind of generation that we have is unfortunately now, like I mentioned last time, people are not really easily advisable. Although for the elderly, those elderly patients are a bit more cooperative. Ukimwelezea ya kwamba these ulcers that you're having could be because of something else, they are willing to listen. But now the older adults who will be the elderly of later, ukimwambia I am not comfortable giving you antacids for 90 days, that patient will be very upset and will go to buy it over the counter. Unaona? But you see, you're refusing to give them, not because it benefits you. If anything, if you sell more, it will be better for you. But you're refusing to give them because you want to get to the root of it. Unaona? So most of the unfortunately for the old people, when you find somebody is having backaches, or is tired, or is walking slower, or is gaining or losing weight, you think ini kawaida for older people. Yet changes in weight is one of the symptoms of depression.
Losing weight.
Yes. So losing weight, gaining weight.
Yeah.
There are people who, you know, in Africa, when somebody gains weight, you're like, huyu anaishi vizuri.
Akona afya.
Tangu retire, amekuwa ki gain weight.
Sana, hiyo ni mzuri.
Yeah, so
anakula mali yake.
Hiyo kazi ilikuwa inakusumbua. You see, but this person is actually depressed. So there's weight gain, changes in weight. changes in mood, and there's something we call anhedonia. That means somebody is not interested in doing the pleasurable things they used to like doing, like riding a bike or reading a book or swimming. So you see, when you see an older person is
Even
not
going to church.
even going to church,
Yeah.
so you might think labda tu amechoka kwa sababu ya umri wake, but in essence, if you were to look at this person keenly, there are usually some questions we ask people. You will find, oh, this individual is actually either mildly depressed or moderately severe or severely depressed.
Wow. The other day, I also know somebody, now that you talked about that, they diagnose themselves. Someone is having heartburn all the time. They're drinking, they are eating miraa, and then you say, oh, it's okay, I'm going to buy next year.
Yes.
And they buy
And they
it's
cram
true.
the names actually.
Then next time they buy, maybe
Yes.
it was one time
Yeah.
aliandikiwa.
Yes.
From that time, he doesn't need to go to see the doctor because he
Nitaenda na
already
hii,
knows.
Yes.
So I think then there's a problem. That is why in some countries there are some
Yeah.
medications you cannot give
You
from buying over the
cannot.
counter.
And to be-
because I think
yes.
this one has encouraged them then.
Let me tell you, if this country was to be serious about healthcare, tungekuwa mbali sana. First of all, depression, like I began with the introduction, this is a mental issue. You'll find somebody will come, especially young adults, will come to hospital and say they have a headache and then ask for a sick of for like 2 or 3 days. And you realize this person is actually asking to go rest. Unaona? But you see, because it's not, or somebody is just feeling low, but they need rest, but they can't, so they come to hospital to lie that they need a sick for whatever reason. So you find that you can't really blame the patient, kwa sababu our country has no platform for us to actually treat mental health. In my opinion, if I was to be in charge of healthcare in Kenya, I would have every clinic with at least, you see the way we have labs kwa hospitali, departments ni watoto. We should have a department for counseling, for psychiatry, for mental health, because that's what we suffer more than at home, by the way. And another thing, I would control the dispensation of drugs, because watu wanapeana hata bitapin. Watu wanapeana hata prescription only drugs over the counter just because somebody has money, you know. A few of them are trying. There are clinics that we go to, even if I am a doctor and I say nipatie bitapin, they'll say no, iko wapi prescription, until I have to show my license. Then they say, now let me give you. It should be like that. People should have, yes.
And people buy.
People are just buying. Sasa mtu anasema Nexium, nataka Nexium peke yake. And even if now you want to give an alternative or something better or something different, they'll say no, mi nataka hiyo brand peke yake.
Na anakuja hata anajua anataka 3.
Yes.
You know? Anahitaji tu 3. Na unamuuzia wewe ukiwa daktari, unajua there's some medication that you must even complete a dose.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Mtu anakuja anakuambia niko na inaitwa super gonorrhea. Hata hiyo it's something we're going to talk about it. I need antibiotic. Hata akuambia antibiotic, anakuambia I need amoxicillin and ya siku 3.
Yes.
So what happens?
We have a lot of resistance in this country. Our healthcare is in the hands, yes, of government, but also in our own, because we are doing a lot of drug abuse. A lot of abuse of prescription only medicines. Antibiotics watu wamalizi. If you feel better after some 2 days, you let it go.
They think drug abuse ni bangi na cocaine.
Yes.
That's drug abuse.
Yes.
So the rest, even Panadol, even aspirin is drug abuse.
Yes.
Yeah.
So people, like I told you last time, if Panadol can affect the liver, people just buy it because of my backache. Find out what's the cause of your constant backaches. It could be anything. And a few people have been found with cancers, have been found with big things that cause backaches. Unafikiria tu, labda ni
ama tungu, acha nikunywe Andrews. Leta chamuka.
Yeah. So,
oh my God.
Hatuna personal responsibility.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, this depression,
yes,
it's not something that you can know you have. A lot of people who are sick, they don't know they are sick.
Yes.
They are walking.
Yes.
You never know, even myself or all these people.
Yes.
People are just walking, they don't know.
So
because they cannot diagnose themselves.
Yes.
How how would you even help them? What are symptoms and signs that somebody else can tell my mother or my dad or my uncle or my elderly neighbor has this?
Yes. Now, just to help people, because this is a thing they can even do themselves, I brought something to guide us.
Yeah.
You see, in every clinic, like in our clinic, outpatient clinics,
Yes.
there's a screening tool that we call a PHQ. It's called a Patient Health Questionnaire that has 9 questions, which hata mtu can do for themselves, by the way. Now, that you've mentioned something important, that knowledge of I am sick. You see, if you have a backache, you'll know, I'm going inaniuma. If you're depressed, you will not say, I am depressed. No. And some people don't even want that label because of stigma. Now, usually there are criteria that we use to conclude that somebody is depressed.
Yes.
First, I mentioned to you about duration, so over 2 weeks. You can't feel sad about losing money or about a business going bad for 3 days and say that you're depressed. So first of all is what I mentioned, the anhedonia, little pleasure in doing things that you used to love. So usually we find out, it's a questionnaire that people can do, it's only 9 questions.
Is that the victim or the directly affected, the atajijua ama how can even the surrounders know about it?
Now, you see, it takes joint effort, but even the person that is being asked, because you see, if you come to hospital and you have backaches or you have any symptom, you know, diarrhea or whatever, ama homa, na nimeona, wewe Joseph umekuwa ukikuja hospitali sana, you know, you're always sick. Could there be something else? This is a tool that we can use, just me and the patient. We don't necessarily have to have a third party.
How many doctors pay that attention to say nilikuona last time?
Yes, but let me tell you, it is not, first of all, yani, that's why I'm telling you, healthcare has a lot of changes to be done. Yeah, kwa sababu, again, if I have a queue of 100 people, you know, and like my friend works in a government hospital, a queue of about 150 hadi inabidi asimame awaambie haki ngojeni nipumzike for some 10 minutes, subiri kidogo. So if you're having such a queue, will you have time? And most of them are elderly. Will you have time to ask this? Do you usually have little?
Even the doctor mwenyewe ako depressed.
Yeah, mwenyewe pia ako na hizi vitu zote if you want to check. So usually somebody can answer based on the symptoms.
I want to say basic things that even you can know your person. This one person is not okay. Because ukisema ati ni pesa yake imepotea, ataanza kusema I'm just annoyed because sawa tu au be okay. But at what point unasema wewe hapana twende hospitali?
No, most of the time, by the time it reaches a point that somebody will say wewe twende, it is a time where it has become now severe. And that's why I'm insisting, when somebody is just coming to hospital, even for a wellness check, the way I mentioned, nowadays people are doing wellness check. Sina ugonjwa nimekuja tu leo kuangaliwa.
Watu gani hao?
We have a few
hospitali
patients.
Yako ni private hospital.
Private hospital.
So ni wangapi mtu orende ana chakula huko kwetu Northeastern, you cannot even afford a daily meal, then uniambie nikuje nikupatie pesa ya kunicheck. First of all, utacheki tumbo ama utanicheki skin.
So in the public hospitals, actually most Kenyans will not go for a wellness check, even in the private sector. See ati wote, just a few. I'm just happy that most people are beginning to adopt that. And now it is sad because there's no wellness check, then many people will know when it is severe. Huyu ameanza kukua aggressive, huyu ameanza kuwa irritable, because those are some of the symptoms. I actually wanted to mention quickly the things that we look for. Little interest or pleasure in doing things, somebody feeling down or hopeless, somebody having trouble sleeping or sleeping for too long, somebody feeling like they have little energy, kuchoka choka, somebody feeling bad about themselves, like they're a failure is one of the symptoms, people having difficulty concentrating on something, either you're reading a newspaper, you can't be able to complete it, somebody moving slowly or somebody moving so quickly, yani they're restless is one of the symptoms, and finally thoughts of somebody feeling like they're better off dead. Unaona? So usually
suicidal
ideas. And actually this last one about being suicidal is already a criteria for us to know that this one has become severe. So usually in all those 9 questions.
But that's severe now.
Yeah, that one is severe. So in all these questions we want to find out, hii symptom yenye umesema kama being suicidal, do you feel it sometimes? Do you feel it most times? Do you feel it more than half the time, or do you feel it?
Or how long have you been feeling it?
Yes, so we calculate, we get points, and then we can tell this person is severely depressed, and we treat depending on the severity.
Now, is there a way, of course, at some point, each one of us will be depressed, Or maybe which one comes first, stress or depression?
Stress comes first, because stress that you get every day. You see, stress, if somebody texts you an abuse right now, unapata stress, you know,
Hata saa hii ulikuwa ukuja kwa show una cancel.
Yeah, una cancel because you're stressed or something. And stress, in as much as you see, we've said depression will impair your daily life. Even stress can. You see the way you can argue with your spouse in the morning before you go to work. Will you not go to work? You'll still go to work.
Yeah.
You'll just be grumpy at work.
Yeah.
So you're stressed. If your spouse apologizes at 10 a.m., wewe umerudi mood unaendelea
Kama
sasa.
your house girl.
Yes, or your house girl.
Amen.
Or your workmate shouts at you in the middle of your workplace. You won't pick your bag and quit your job. But if one day your workmate shouts at you and you pick your bag and you leave, then you have been stressed for a long time, and more than 2 weeks. If you check these symptoms, we'll find you're actually depressed.
Masema enough is enough.
Yeah, umechoka. So that's not stress. And there's something we call acute stress disorder. That's acute inamaanisha short term. Unaona? So something that happens, and it happens a lot because people are having stresses from every angle, and anything can stress you. You come to a place, you realize your dress is torn, or kama jana, you realize
Ile ya senator.
You realize nimekuja meeting na nimefukuzwa, atapata stress but atakuwa depressed. Yeah.
Now also neglection can also bring depression, like I'm assuming, like in marriage, there are these even elderly people. Yes. One of them maybe does not have income.
Yes.
And that's to depend on the other one.
Yes.
So, you know, I don't think people realize that even not necessarily physical abuse, mental abuse, even refusing you finances can depress you.
You've mentioned, Yani, you've opened a whole new topic.
Yeah.
Because that causes a lot of illnesses.
The elderly especially.
Yes, especially because you find they've stayed in marriage for a long time now. You're even staying for the kids. And then you find if you don't have income and you're depending on somebody, unaenda kumomba 200 for something,
Chumvi.
50 bob ya chumvi, 20 bob ya nini. So this person can actually control you with that. And the problem with that, unlike physical abuse, is that if I come here and I tell you I have been emotionally abused by my spouse, you'll wonder, what are you saying? Where the marks? Na umevaa vizuri.
Umevaa vizuri, umekuja na gari.
Umekuja na gari.
Unaishi nyumba ile tunajua.
Vizuri. So how are you, that's really sad, because unlike physical, where if you come with a black eye, we'll know you're having physical abuse. Sexual abuse, being forced to be intimate with your spouse, or being denied
or even
intimacy.
being denied, yeah.
Yes, that is happening a lot. People are doing it. Being denied finances.
Actually, it can depress. Yeah.
Gaslighting. There's a lot of emotional abuse that people are going through. Na kwa sababu wanashindwa express, they end up with depression, and a lot of suicide is happening actually in elderly people. So you find younger people nowadays, because they know those things cannot be quantified, that's why you find there's a lot of single parenthood, because people have been unable to cope with stresses.
And what happens, like maybe Mzee has been working in Nairobi, he's not been going home, now he has retired, he goes home, now he finds the queen of the home, and you are not treating them right when you are there.
Yes.
Would that Mzee not be depressed?
Actually, the mzee will be depressed, and a slight chance that the lady will also be depressed, because I'm not used to this person being here. Now they are here to enjoy the things I have worked for in his absence. That's one. And then two, the man is having a sudden change in lifestyle, thinking that I've been away because I've been working for this family.
I was a big boss in Nairobi.
Yes, I was a big boss. Narudi nyumbani, I expect to have the same respect from here, but at home I find things are being different. So retirement, this is really important. Yeah, retirement, or that change in lifestyle, you find people will prefer, should I go back to work? Unaona? Because life has actually changed. And another thing that people don't realize is the older you go, you realize, oh, mama ya fulani ameaga, my friend fulani ameaga. So what marafiki zako, they've also died and passed on. Now you're having less support. Even people to talk to and support you through this thing are less, because you've lost them either to death or they are also having their own
now stresses. You are saying it's me next.
Yes. So that, elderly people have a lot of things for us to focus on and to help them with, instead of just looking at huyu ako mgonjwa na headaches, huyu ako mgonjwa na nini. An elderly person will be able to bring out symptoms of depression in different ways from a young person. And it is the duty of clinicians to pick that out, and even the general public. Yeah, if you notice these common things, it is good for us to familiarize. You don't need to be a doctor for you to know. After you can go and search PHQ, the questions or the symptoms of depression, then try and assess, could I be, could I not be? Go to a doctor to confirm it, which is what we were discussing before the show. Is Googling bad? It is not bad.
Yeah, you told us.
Familiarize.
Yeah.
Then go and consult a doctor.
So what would you tell now? We're saying the doctors can help.
They can.
The public can help.
Yes.
Now that most of the times it's the public which is near these elderly people, what would you tell them to look for and how to assist them?
Now, the symptoms that I had mentioned about depression would be quite important for you to be keen to notice in a person that's having depression, or in an elderly person. First of all, if you have an elderly person who's having either pressure or diabetes or arthritis or a long-term illness, try and forget that they have that first. Then look at the symptoms that they are having. Just search about symptoms of depression and try and see, is this thing something that my father or my uncle or my auntie or my neighbor are having? And then you can be able to take them. At the end of the day, you may need to still take them to hospital for them to get a proper diagnosis. Because you can again say, wewe nimegoogle na nimeona uko na depression, and then it becomes a stigma.
It becomes another part of adding more depression.
Another conflict, and then this person feels there's no support here. They feel like they've been judged. And maybe hata akona stress tu hiyo wakati, and it's not depression.
So they should be not the diagnosis. Ukiona those symptoms, mpeleke to the right person.
Yes.
And I think also this country needs a lot of like psychologists or a lot of counselors.
Yes.
Because if we have counselors like in every clinic, it's walking. Do not now here you are in the city yourself, or most doctors. You can go even to a level 4, level 5. You find only 2 doctors there. Like you're saying, the queue is so long that they have to see this specialized doctor is one. We don't have even those doctors. So I think, do you think there's a need of counselors?
There's a big need of counselors, even more than other some specialists. Unapata, because you find you will send somebody to a specialist, 1, 2, 3, 5 specialists, kumbe shida ilikuwa kitu mental, you see. And then another thing that people need to embrace is that mental illness is not a thing for you to be, you know, ashamed about. If you're having something that stresses you, but people are beginning to pick this up, maybe only in the private, but the more we pick up the fact that if I'm having stress, I can have treatment. Si lazima dawa. Treatment can come through counseling. The more counselings would have, the more marriages will save, the more people will save, the more suicides will prevent, the more productive our country will be. Because if you're having productive workers, then you're having productive companies. Unaona? So if people can be able to get early treatment.
So counselors can do a lot of, rather than treatment, we can do a lot of prevention.
A lot of prevention. Even from just noticing I am stressed and I keep being stressed about this thing. Let me go for counseling before it becomes depression. Me and my wife are fighting too much. Me, this child, ananipatia stress. You're an elderly parent. You worked hard for a child who's now disappointing you. Let me go for counseling before I become depressed by the same offspring I brought forth. Unaona?
So even children can give depression to the elderly.
Let me tell you.
Even I think,
children bring depression even to young parents. So if they can depress, and sometimes it's their fault, sometimes it's not their fault. You know, like you can find a child is always sickly. So you see that's not the child's fault. Either the child has allergies for a long time. So the parent will always be in hospital. These parents get depressed. When I'm treating a child mwenye amekuwa kitibiwa kwa muda mrefu, I usually ask the parent, how are you doing? And this parent will break down and you realize this parent is depressed. I have a mother who, when they get home, now this child is just naughty. So they have a naughty son who misbehaves before the mother and not before not before the father. So the mother comes home and stays in her car from 5 until 10 kwa sababu huyu mtoto anamstress. Now when a parent is now older, they have their own illnesses, they have their own achievements, their own goals, and they're having older children who are either drug addicts or they are having, you know, issues with their own marriages. This parent is also stressed now again and depressed because of the children. So if you're having more than one child, you can imagine if each of them is stressing you. So that is adding to the depression
of the elderly.
Of the elderly.
Yeah.
So children, you as a young adult, you are stressing your parent by just your lifestyle, because kuna vile ametegemea utakuwa mkubwa And either, even if you don't help them, just be somebody.
At least you were responsible for your
so
own
if you're
life.
not responsible, so you can imagine young people are depressed and doing things that are depressing themselves and their parents. And parents are also having lives that are also depressing them. So that is double for the elderly, which is a thing that is good that you're focusing on. Wow, wako na double stress more than the young population.
Wow. Now we have, like my show now is talking about the elderly and the retired.
Yes.
And the retired, we mean that these are people who have been working somewhere, maybe working for somebody, and now they are not working anymore. How about we have these people now who are jobless or they are self-employed?
Do you mean self-employed and now elderly?
Yes, they are elderly. They have never worked for anybody. Now, you know, we always think, when you retired, you are in the office. These people have never been in an office.
Yes.
They have been householders.
Yes.
They have been the matatu guys. They have been the boda people.
Yes.
But they also need the decent retirement and decent,
Yes.
I mean, aging gracefully.
Now, those ones are actually at a higher risk for depression because remember, when you're retiring, unapewa package flani, unaenda nayo nyumbani, you can plan yourself with your retirement package. But now, if you are jobless, it means you're actually depending on other people for your upkeep, for your sustenance. If you had your own job, you don't have the same, energy to carry out your businesses when you're older than when you are younger. So when you're older, you're getting depressed because now your business is not running well, you're not having the same energy, you're having illnesses. The little money that you're making, you have to pay for medical expenses. So that one is what leads to depression to those who are self-employed. Those who are jobless get more depressed because they have to now depend on either their children who may be having other dependents. So anapata mabaki. So like, let me commit suicide.
And that time, huyo mzazi pia ataweka hata mtoto depression.
Yes.
Because you are depending 100%
too
on them.
much on the child. So you find now we are affecting each other in that instance. So this person will be like, okay, let me eliminate myself because after all, I'm older. I actually had one patient who told me, I'm turning 65 tomorrow and I wish I could just die.
Why?
And I was like, what do you mean? Because of a lot of depression. And I had an 84-year-old waiting outside. And she told me, I can't even believe that lady is still alive. Why is she still waiting? Why is she still going on? I can't believe I'm even coming here for medicine for what? Because the illnesses were too many. She didn't achieve what she wanted by that age. And 65 is quite young. But she was not convincible.
So I also, actually, just before I started this show, it is one old lady who really actually triggered me to doing it. She called me, and that is depression. That I didn't even know that it was depression. But she called me and told me, you know what, me, I would rather not to live. I said, why? Because my children, they used to live in town, and then the children pushed her to go to the reserve, to the country. So umezeeka, umemaliza kazi, go huko. And then now she's not seeing anybody, she's by herself. She told me, this life I cannot continue. She's still alive. And she told me that, and when I'm like, wow, there are so many of them. Because I know people push their parents. Well, retire. Let's say your dad is used to being in Nairobi. Most of his friends, colleagues are here. Now go to Kakamega.
That is very important because for the elderly, that change in environment, and then again, change in lifestyle, and then that social isolation that I mentioned to you about causes a lot of depression because it's like a whole new life at an old age. Sijazoea kukua up country, but now I have been brought here because my children think that this is where older people should be. You see.
And then there are even some parents who could carry from the up country. You are thinking unamleta Nairobi, nimsaidie, anasema hapana, hii itaniua. I cannot just keep on. They want to be in the village.
Let me be there.
Yes. That can also depress somebody.
It can.
So unaweza kumutoa huko mulete hapa ukuje ukumuua even.
Yes. So listen to your parents. That's why I'm saying the public can help. Listen to your parents. Give them time. Older people speak slowly. Even in hospital, unampatia muda, then you realize, oh, this person is saying thing X. If your parent prefers to be at home, if you love them so much, take care of them while they're at home. Find support for them in that environment. Because they anataka kuona ng'ombe yake ikipita pale. You're bringing them to a lift. They don't want that. Or somebody is used to a lift. You're taking them home kwa kisima. So understanding your parent and helping them
and
the environment they prefer, let them, because they have friends there. They have a certain idea of a lifestyle. in that age.
Wow. So, Daktari, as we wind up, I know this is a very wide thing, but you have touched most things. Just look at the camera and give your parting shot about depression, and the elderly.
Yeah.
What should the public know?
Now, I'd have a major
And
request
also for the government also.
for the government. I have a lot to say.
Tell them.
Now, for the public, I really would like to request for teamwork between you and us. Because when you go to a doctor, they ask you questions because you know more. For you to know, you have to be in touch and you have to be in contact with the people that are our patients. So for the elderly people, they find difficulty in expressing. So try and guide them to go to hospital to express what they are feeling about a certain illness. Try and identify what they are having just besides the physical illnesses they could be having. For the government, I would really beg for us to have regulations with our medication dispensation. Over-the-counter medicines, let us have a regulation kindly, because there'd be no point of having doctors and pharmacies if the doctors are not important. And then 2, let us have enough staffing of doctors in all facilities, especially public facilities, because we are very passionate and we are interested in helping our patients, but we become limited when we have too many patients to attend to at the same time, yet there are other jobless doctors.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joan. That
you.
was our doctor, our network doctor, Dr. Joan
Thank
and
you.
Medina. And she'll be with us more often. We will be discussing different diseases and main NPDs, the ones that are really affecting the elderly, the NCP, the non-communicable diseases.
Yeah.
And she'll be here more often. If you have more questions on or whatever you want us to discuss, go there on YouTube, subscribe, watch, leave a message, a comment, or a question, and it will be right here to answer to you. If you have not subscribed yet, please do it. Otherwise, thank you so much for the continuing support in helping our elderly.